Hello everyone, my name is Frida Weisel, and I'm a New York City, Brooklyn-based Jewish YouTuber with an interest in all things Jewish, subcultures, New York City, and human interest stories. Today, I'm joined by the iconic Jewish comedian, Judy Gold. Judy is a comedian, actress, and writer, and a longtime fixture of the New York comedy scene. I saw her perform in Manhattan and had a fantastic time. As my regular viewers know, I'm obsessed with comedians and have interviewed quite a few, like Forster, Modi, Danielle Jacobs, and many more. So I can't imagine anything more Jewish than a comedian. So I'm really looking forward today to hearing the story of Judy Gold's life and work. Before we begin, let me take a moment to share with you that the lovely t-shirt that I'm wearing, which says thank you on it in Yiddish, shkoyach, is among the cute and fun merch available in my shop. A little note also, if you're sensitive to cursing and profanities, I want to let you know in advance that I do not censor my guests. Judy has historically cursed. So if this is something you're uncomfortable... I'm not done. So if this is something you're uncomfortable with, you've been given advance notice. Not you, Judy. The audience has been given advance.
Now I'm not going to curse at all. There you go.
I had to say it because I otherwise would
I know
a lot of comments of people being frustrated. Yeah, but you speak freely, Judy. Speak freely.
The thing is about cursing. I'm from New Jersey. It's just part of my. It's part of my vernacular, and it's not meant to be offensive. And I wrote a book about free speech. And it's funny because I do think you should be able to say whatever you want and suffer the consequences of it. But it's really the substance of what you're saying. Like a curse word. I don't know. I have feelings about that.
No, go ahead.
I can't listen to this because this person curses. It's like, I don't know.
It's like
there's so many more important things than hearing like a curse word. That shouldn't be the be all and end all, but whatever.
I hear what you're saying.
That's what we're taught. We're taught.
No, I invited you.
There's
I want to hear you
bad
speak your
words.
mind.
There's words that are worse that are not curse words, but whatever. So here we are. I love that you love Jewish comedians, because I feel like this has been our survival mode for thousands of years. And I even the cadences in the Torah readings, the way, we tell stories, the way we use it as a weapon, but I think we use it as a salve too. And even in the darkest times, like I have a book here, It Kept Us Alive, Humor in the Holocaust. We laugh. And I feel like there is no joy in life without laughter.
Yeah. Did you read that book? It Kept Us Alive.
It's so dense. It's so dense. But yes, I read portions of it.
How is a book like that dense?
No. I mean, it was like so much information. And I was doing research. So I read parts of it, but I didn't read I didn't sit down and read the entire thing at once, is what I'm trying to say. But I use it as a reference book all the time. And it's fascinating.
Yeah. I saw your show. I think it was in Comedy Cellar. You had just had hip surgery. Does that make sense? Knee surgery. Yes. And there was a young woman in the audience who also had knee surgery, and you were really roasting her. Do you remember that?
Oh, no.
Everything is a blur and you forget everything?
Well, I mean, I do so much stand up. I don't remember specific shows unless it was like extraordinary. Yeah, you don't really remember the crowd work, but yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. It makes sense to me that you wouldn't remember, because I'm a tour guide also, and at some point I stopped remembering faces, and then people would say, "Hi again," and they'd come again, and I would not recognize them.
I know. And you're like, do you know how many people I have looked at and faces I've looked at, and you expect me to remember? That's the whole problem with this world, is everyone thinks it's about them. And that's the problem with comedy too. Like, no comedian is thinking about your past trauma when they're writing their material. It's not about you. So if you get triggered or upset about a topic or something the comedian's saying, you have to take responsibility for that. It's not the comedian's fault that, they're dealing with the topic that you don't like, or, so yeah, people are very narcissistic, but yeah.
Are you finding audiences to be very sensitive or more sensitive today to what the material is than, let's say, 20 years ago?
Frida, listen, I've been doing this for so long. I'll tell you the most surprising thing. I mean, and I've been doing this for over 40 years. So I've 4 decades, and I've seen comedy change and change and change and change. And, things are allowed, things are not allowed. But, the world changes and certain things aren't funny anymore and people think differently. And so here's what I have to say. I came out on stage in the mid 90s. And I came out as a gay parent. Like, I came out on stage because I had jokes about being a same-sex parent and just navigating that world, which I think made it more palatable for people. That I wasn't talking about, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay. It was more like, look what happened to us. Look what this person said, and funny stuff, and Jewish, very Jewish stuff. And, I got a lot of pushback, and I go in the clubs now and I see, LGBT performers, and they're up there and no reaction. They are not fighting any battle on stage but on October 8th, 2023, that was the scariest I felt as far as pushback in a comedy club, because here I am. I'm a comedian. I'm a Jewish comedian. I'm Jewish. Everything about me is Jewish. People are like, oh, are you more this or more? I'm like, the way I look, the way I talk, what I eat, how I live, everything about me. I am a Jew, a proud Jew. And for me to get on stage and do like a benign Jewish joke.
Like what? I
don't know, something about my mother or something, I forgot what the joke was. I really should go look it up because someone else asked me that. It was nothing about Israel or whatever. And nothing. I'm a good comedian. Like, I've been doing this. I know how to make an audience laugh. And I called them out. I said, are you kidding me? You can't laugh at a Jewish joke, and then at one point someone yelled out, Israel's an apartheid state. And I was like, actually, it's not. And it's my show. So you have to just be like, okay, whatever. All right, good. Okay. Hope you feel good about yourself. But I never, I've experienced anti-Semitism. This is just beyond anything I could have anticipated. And, a lot of comics are not doing Jewish jokes or avoiding the topic. It makes me want to talk about it more. It is so much of who I am, and stand-up comedy is about you're seeing the world through someone else's eyes. My son plays professional basketball in Israel. I love Israel. I'm allowed to talk about whatever I want to when I'm on stage. And I have had people write, the Comedy Cellar, you can write, send in a review of the show. And it's like, everyone was funny except the Zionists. Like, there's just ridiculous, obviously anti-Semitic stuff. But I get so many people after my show saying thank you. I've been not going out, and I came out and I saw this loud, proud Jew, and it makes me feel safer or better or heard or seen. People say, I'll ask often, who's from another country or out of town? And, people like, I'm from Israel and I don't want to raise my hand, but thank you. And that's what's important for me, is representation. And I've always been, since I started in college. I went to Rutgers, and I started on a dare. And then this was 81, 82.
Can I ask which year you were born?
62.
Okay. So 20 years later, you're in college. And what track were you on in terms of a career?
I was a music major. My parents really wanted me to be a music teacher.
A music teacher?
Yeah, I mean, but I come from a long line of teachers, but I wanted to perform.
Were your family members funny?
Yes, it's very sarcastic. Here's the thing, Frida. They weren't hugs. There were no hugs, and they weren't physically affectionate. But a clever joke or a sarcastic quip, that was like getting a big hug in my family. Again, generations of trauma, laughter. It's just so important. I think my grandmother had suffered from depression. I'm sure my mother was very anxious, and probably depressed as well. And that's how we do it. That's how we do it in our families.
So what happened? You were at Rutgers and someone said, "I dare you."
Yeah. So it was Secret Santa. Perfect for this podcast. We would we would put on a show at night. So you'd get a note under your door that said, you have to do this. I remember someone had to walk around with an apple on her head all day, like tied to her head. Then I remember someone had to go in the lounge and sing Let It Rain. And every time they sang Let It Rain, someone threw a bucket of water on them. It was like ridiculous stuff. And I got one that said, you have to do 5 minutes of stand-up. And I really took it seriously.
You prepped?
I prepped. I didn't go to class. I prepped. I wrote jokes.
What kind of jokes?
Just about the people who lived on the floor. It was like an out-of-body experience when I got my first laugh. And my friend, who was the RA or the preceptor, we called them, Howard Rosenstein, was my Secret Santa. And he's still one of my closest friends. And I thank him in everything I do. And that changed the entire trajectory of my life. And, I should have known when I was a girl, I was very drawn to Toady Fields and Joan Rivers. I loved women comics. I loved Toady and Joan because they were so fearless and they tackled topics that people didn't really talk about. And you really knew where women stood, at that time, by watching them do stand-up and what they were talking about. So,
like how?
Joan's talking about, you look at the beginning of her career, or she's talking about finding a husband and you have to be pretty, and no guy is sticking his hand up your dress looking for a library card. Like, just really where women stood. And then she went into, she talked about cosmetic surgery. She talked about her husband's suicide. She really tackled a lot of things. You really see what the zeitgeist is when you look at old comedians and what they're talking about, older clips of comedians. Yeah. And these women were Jewish and fearless. And the thing about Joan that always struck me is, like, here she is on the Tonight Show. This guy, Johnny Carson, is from Nebraska, couldn't be more Goyisha, further from, our people. And yet he is eating her up. Like, she's the funniest thing in the entire, it's just, you look at Bette Midler, who was on the last episode of the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Like, these powerful Jewish women, they really spoke to me.
Yeah. Did you think of yourself as a Jewish comedian right away? Like, were you a Jewish comedian right away?
It's funny because I just wanted to be a comic. When I came out, I was like, I just want to be a comic who happens to be gay. But I always thought of myself as a Jewish comic because it was such a part, my Jewish mother was such a part of my act. Being Jewish, being a big Jew in this world, it's so much of who I am.
A big Jew, you mean tall?
Yeah, like, I take up a lot of space. And what am I going to do with that? I'm going to profess my, who I truly am and my pride in being a Jew. And my mother loved being Jewish. And, my whole family, I mean, we're Jews. And, I, the one thing I was told throughout the beginning of my career, the first 20 years or so, was you're too Jewish. It was never like, you're too loud, you're too gay, you're too tall. Well, you too tall was for the casting people. But the one thing I got was, can you not be as Jewish? Can you straighten your hair? Can you dye it blonde? Can you not be so Jewish and it's like, fuck you. Oh, sorry. Oh, I said it, but it really pissed me off. I know. It really pissed me off.
Yeah.
And a lot of it came from Jews. And I think also I probably reminded so many executives in show business, like who were just wanted to assimilate, that, I reminded them of their Jewishness. And I think it definitely had an effect on my career. And I did travel all over. I did go on the road to non-Jewish places and talked about being a Jew. And I wanted to travel around the country and make other people laugh, not just New York or Chicago or, Florida, whatever, Boston. I wanted to go where there were places where there weren't that many Jews, to make sure my act was universal. But I still talked about being Jewish. I remember once in Georgia, someone yelled out, "The Jews have all the money." And I was like, oh, yeah, that's why I'm performing here this week for $600. So, yeah. But I do remember a funny story, Frida, where a comic who was a good friend of mine, she doesn't do stand-up anymore. And the code word always for being too Jewish was, they're too New York. They're too New York. That's what they used to say all the time. But she was performing on the road, I think also somewhere in Georgia, somewhere in the South. And she had done, at that time, we did like shows from Tuesday through Sunday. We would have to stay places 5-6 days. So she had done her first 2 or 3 days of shows, and she wasn't getting the reaction she wanted. And then she realized that the audience thought she was Jewish. And she had done her next show, the fourth night, and she said, guys, I'm not Jewish. And they it was like a release of them laughing. And she called me up. She goes, oh my God, I see what you go through. Like, I figured out that they thought I was Jewish because I'm from New York. It just like, she couldn't believe it. She really couldn't believe it.
I have to say, having been to your show, I did find it extremely refreshing to be at a show I expected to be generic. I didn't go to a Jewish show for it to be so unabashedly Jewish, your particular part. It feels like it's no longer acceptable, which is the most surreal thing. I can't believe it's even coming out of my mouth. It's no longer acceptable for something to be unabashedly Jewish.
Well, it is for me, and I'm going to continue to do it. But, it's because maybe it's because I'm 63 years old, but I've never shied away from that. And you're not shutting me up. You're not. I'm not hiding who I am. This is my act. And if you are such an anti-Semite that you can't just say, wow, that's funny. Because, people don't want to laugh if they are racist or homophobic or anti-Semitic or just prejudice. Because once you make someone laugh, they like you. And they're letting their guard down. So these people, just like I said about the cursing in the beginning, it's like, oh, so you're not going to listen to anything I say because I curse when I talk, like that's just shutting yourself out. But you think about a comedy club, it's such a unifier because you don't know what the politics of the person sitting next to you are, but you're laughing together at something. great comedy will make you laugh and make you think.
No, it's just so strange to me how comedy has laughing at like we love to laugh in this Jewish style has become like somehow colluding with a genocide, like how that has become something that so many people absorb and live by is so strange to me.
You know, it's propaganda. And so the reason, you know, in other countries, in dictatorships, comedians are jailed. There's no free speech, you know, they're killed. That, you know, this happens all the time because satire, and people argue with me all the time about this, but satire weakens propaganda.
Yeah.
It's truth telling. And there's a reason why you never see dictators laugh. You never see them laugh at themselves. And most comedy is based in the truth. And look, you think back to Lenny Bruce, okay? They arrested him for foul language, for cursing. But they really wanted to arrest him because he was talking about segregation and the Vietnam War and the president and all this, you know, stuff that was going on at that time. And he had an audience, and this is, you know, pre-social media, and the police would stand in the back waiting for him to say something, a curse, so they could take him away. George Carlin was arrested. I mean, the Smothers Brothers was a very political show. They were canceled, and I feel like we're going in that direction on different levels. Like, I think what's going on, you know, with journalists now is really upsetting. And what's going on with trying to cancel television shows, because, you know, look, I know probably your listeners love Trump.
I have a very varied listener base, all sorts of people.
I say on stage, I cannot stand him, but when he's good to the Jews and good to the Israel, good, you know, Israel, I am like all for it, you know. So, but him as a person and him, you know, being a comedian and the way he behaves, like, character matters to me. So I have a lot of issues, but yes, I will admit he's been good to the Jews. I don't know if that's coming from I love the Jews place, or I always think everything from him comes from how is this going to help me? But so it's also really hard because these people come after me. I get called Genocide Judy, and like everyone, you know, I'll do just a joke. I'll show a picture of me eating a bagel. Genocide Judy. It's like, you're psychotic. You're psychotic. Look up the definition of genocide. Do your homework. Go to Israel. Go to Israel. Like, please. Especially if you're gay or trans or whatever, go. There's that. So I get people, you know, from the river, they don't even know what river or sea, but, you know, I have those people. And then I have the Jews who come after me, and it's like, how can you criticize him when he's good for the Jews? It's like, I got to look at the whole picture. Sorry.
Yeah. It's
so difficult. I wish he was a good guy.
It's a very difficult climate in which for Jews to have an opinion. I have to say, it feels like whatever your opinion is, other people are going to be absolutely horrified. And it's like live or die opinions. Like you're one little person living in New York. Your little opinion is causing babies to die somewhere. Like, that's the climate we're talking in.
Yeah. I often say on stage, you know, stop blaming American Jews, European Jews, Jews all over the world for the way a war is being
waged.
waged. Thank you for the word. Waged. It's like blaming you Americans for something Trump did, stop blaming us. We have done nothing. And I'll go on and on. Do you know what we've done for you? Like, you wouldn't have a cell phone. You wouldn't have GPS. You wouldn't have clean water. Like, shut up. You're an idiot. Like, leave us alone. There's so few of us in the world. All we do is trying to make the world a better place. And you go after us. It's just, you have to like fill your head with facts. I was talking to a young girl last night and she's like, "Oh, you're a Zionist?" I go, "Yes." "Do you know what that means?" Well, I said, "It means that Israel has a right to exist and defend itself. So that's what I believe." She's like, "Well, I can see that." And she's gay. And I was like, that's the only place you can be, who you are, and not get killed or arrested. And I said, "Israel's the size of New Jersey." She's like, "No, what?" And, it's just, they don't know. I said, there's 37 Muslim countries. There's Christian countries all over. There's Hindu countries. Why can't there be a piece of land that's the size of New Jersey that the Jews are indigenous to? Why can't they have that? And, you just have to break it down in a way that they're going to relate to, because everyone has their own issues that they're going to relate to. But I think it's important to talk about it.
Yeah. My feeling very strongly is that a lot of people just hop on causes that they don't really have a lot of information on, and they have very emotional positions without being thoroughly informed.
Yeah. Willful ignorance. Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to go back to your life story. I have my own personal fascinations with people's stories and how they get to where they are. Can I ask, like, your mom is a big part of your humor. Jewish moms are. How was she about your comedy career, especially since she was part of it?
She loved it.
Is she around?
No, she died in 2015. But and those jokes are still as hilarious as the first time I told them. People still ask me for them. And when she died, I got fans and people I feel like I knew your mother. It was just unbelievable. She loved it. And I did a show called 25 Questions for a Jewish Mother, which ran off Broadway for about 3 years. And then we went on tour. No, we went on tour for 3 years, but it was a year and a half off Broadway. And so
a year and a half you performed it?
In New York. And then we went on tour. And it was all, I had interviewed with my friend Kate, Moira Ryan wrote it with me. We interviewed Jewish mothers all over the country. And the show is based on it. It's really a phenomenal show. And so one of the questions we asked the women was, what would you have done if you hadn't had children? And when we interviewed my mother, I asked her that question and she said, what you do. And I couldn't believe it because she was really, really funny. But she loved it. She just, she'd call me after shows and be like, how did we do? And I know that there were things she said that she knew immediately was going in the act. I would play voice messages from her.
Did she come to the shows?
Oh, yeah. She would go on tour. Like, after my father died, he died in 1990. And they had come to see me in Vegas. And then after my father died, I would travel. I'd like, do you want to come with me? And so, yeah, she would come and we would have fun. And she loved it. It was like she was a celebrity. And people would say, what do you think about you doing it? And she's like, I mean, she had a great sense of humor.
Was she sad that she wasn't a comedian?
I don't think so. I mean, she was born in 1922. I don't even think it entered her, mind until her daughter became one. But she, she's from a different generation.
Are you an only child?
No, I have an older brother and older sister. One's an actuary.
Oh, wow.
And the other was, they're both retired. The other worked in insurance litigation. Like, I am the black sheep of, it was constant, like, I don't know where the hell she came from. But all very funny, all really
And supportive
clever.
of your
No. Yes. I mean, not in the beginning. It was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And now, of course.
How long did it take you to take off to like start to make money?
It was, I graduated college, and I would take acting classes and I'd do stand up. And I worked, I was like an executive assistant at a magazine. I worked in a lot of advertising departments of magazines. And then I learned how to typeset. And when I got to the point where I was making enough money doing stand-up, but I didn't have health insurance because we don't have a union, I would typeset at a company and just barter for health insurance. So I'd put in a certain amount of hours typesetting these magazine articles and stuff. And so I could get health insurance until I finally got health insurance and on my own. But it took 10 years to really start, making, it was probably less than 10 years, but when I started making real money, that was like, 1993, 94, around there.
What did you do until then? Did your parents support you?
No, I worked, I did stand up. I would go, I'd work during the day. I'd go do sets at night. And then I went on the road. That's the only way to make money, was going on the road. And, here's this Jewish girl on the road. And it's funny because I found out so many women who were on the road, because here's the deal. Women comedians never got to work with each other, because if they had a woman on a show, it would be one woman. And so whenever we went to travel somewhere, we were the only woman. And the guys all knew each other, and they're, be screwing the waitress, the wait staff, and, whatever. And doing their thing. And, oh my God, these guy comics, it's for some reason they can be the most heinous looking people, and the women are all over. Funny on a guy is so attractive. Funny on a woman is so intimidating. So
really,
yes,
even if you're a lesbian,
it takes. Well, no, then the women, they like it, but
they do like it. Women like funny people.
I think women are more in touch with their emotions, and I think women like to. Yeah, what's better than funny? Like, you go to a restaurant and you see a group of people, and one's telling a story and they get a huge laugh. Like, you look at them, they're like a peacock, like with the feathers out. Like, it's the greatest feeling to make someone laugh. So, but I was alone a lot, all on the road, and it was the only way to make money. We'd make like $500 to $1,000 a week. But we were away from home. We didn't have computers or cell phones. It was hell. Sometimes we had to share comedy condos with guys. It was terrible. And a lot of my friends who were on the road, I didn't know they all had guns. The women had guns they would travel with guns. And I was like, oh, I never even thought of that because I'm a Jew.
Why won't Jews think of that?
Now they do, I think. But I was never, people grew up with guns. They were in the Midwest or whatever. And, here I am traveling around the country by myself. Really no way to communicate with anyone. I remember like the first time I was driving from doing a college tour. Colleges paid well too. And I was driving through West Virginia, and there's these big white crosses on the mountains. And I'm like, where the hell am I? Like, this is a whole other world than the tri-state area,
Judy's no longer in Kansas.
Yeah, exactly.
At which point did you realize you're gay? Can I ask?
Oh, I knew when I was 3, maybe. I always knew, I always felt different. I always knew there was something different about me. I didn't know what it was until I went through puberty, and I realized, and I would have crushes on girls and not boys. And I wanted to do more, like I was more of a tomboy. I liked hanging out with the guys, and I loved women too. I mean, women, girls too, but I wasn't into dolls and, that kind of thing. And I just knew. I knew from the time I could think. And what's interesting is, and never to tell anyone. That's what I don't. It's because we're not, especially when I was a kid, there's no representation. It's not something people talk about. It's something about yourself. And if you tell anyone, it could be the end of you. And that's how it was when I was a kid. And to this day, like I look and these kids come out and the parents are just like, love their kids and, realize this is how you were born. And that's it. It's not a choice. No one would choose that. And still there are people who are afraid to come out. And it's really sad. It's just a really sad state of affairs. And you think about marriage equality, which I was an activist. I've been an activist since, my 20s. You think about marriage equality. When marriage equality became law, no one went to a church or a synagogue or a mosque. They went to town hall. It was all about just basic human dignity and rights. There was a couple in Florida, 2 women, they were on going to Disney World with their kids. One of the women had a stroke and ended up in the ICU, and they wouldn't let the partner in to see her because Florida didn't acknowledge marriage equality. And this woman died alone in an ICU. Like, that's the kind of stuff, when you talk about gay marriage, that's what we're fighting for. The case that went before the Supreme Court was about a federal inheritance tax bill. 2 Jewish women. Edie Windsor was her, Thea Spire, who was a brilliant therapist, well-known therapist in New York. She dies, and Edie gets hit with a $361,000 federal inheritance tax bill. They were together for over 40 years. They went to Canada to get married while, the other one was a paraplegic, just so that, not fair. And I think the AIDS crisis really is what, moved it along, because you see these people dying and their partners, the family comes in at the end and is like, oh, you don't get anything. You don't get the house. You don't, I don't understand why my relationship with someone who's the same gender as me has any effect on your marriage and your family. I brought up 2 straight Jewish boys.
When do you get married?
Oh, I'm not married.
Oh, you raised. Oh.
Yeah. So there was no gay marriage with my ex. We were together 84 to 2004. And then I've been with Elisa Halpern, Jew.
Is she the one whose name you're not supposed to say?
No, that's the other one. We call her Wendy, but her real name's Sharon.
A guy,
so we call her
Schwendy.
Yeah, Schwendy. So I've been with Elisa since 2007. So that's 19 years. But we'll eventually get married, I think.
Oh, but at your show. Okay, at your show there were jokes that made me think you're single.
No.
Ah,
that's hilarious. I talk about her all the time.
Oh, okay. I guess I misunderstood. It goes by so fast. You make assumptions.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So your kids, they're both Jewish, both your sons.
Yes, 100%.
What does 100% mean, that you're both Jewish?
It means they are so Jew identified. They are, one of them is kosher. He cheats, but he acts like, he's like, I'm not, our neighbors, were Orthodox. He just died 2 years ago, but he was their godfather, and he was Orthodox, and we had Shabbat with them every Friday. And Henry, my older son, used to go to shul with him. on the weekends. I mean, I would take them to shul too, but he loved going and sitting in the men's section. He would always tease me and everything. But they're very Jewish. They're very Jew identified. One lives in Israel and is an Israeli citizen now, and Henry works at Heschel. Yeah, they're just Jews, and they live as Jews, and they're great. Thank God. Because, so many, I have family members, and it's like, intermarriage is whatever it is. But it's like when you have no Jewish representation at your wedding, and I think about my grandparents and my great grandparents, it's like, to me, it's just sad.
How would you feel if one of your sons married a non-Jewish woman?
And this is such a good question, especially for a gay person, because you think about, gender and, I wouldn't be, I mean, look, I want them to be happy, but I 100% prefer, especially now, making more Jewish babies and keeping the traditions. I just think it's important. And it's easier. I think it's easier.
I hear you. I have one son, and he is off in the Midwest in college, and we have these conversations about marrying the Jewish woman. And I tell him that also. It's easier to be married to a Jewish woman. It's very hard to marry out.
And then it's like, I love these people, and the kids are gonna pick. What do you think they're gonna pick? I mean, come on. They're gonna choose what religion that we're gonna give them both. It's like, oh God. It's a great way of life. Shabbat is amazing. Our holidays are amazing. It's a great way to live.
It's just hard because love is love, right? Supposedly, no. If you meet someone you love.
Right. If you're in love and you can make it work, great. I just would prefer it, you know?
Did you date women that are not Jewish?
No, I don't think. I mean, wow, that's interesting. I never thought about that. I think maybe one or something, but no.
Are you drawn to women who are funny, like have Jewish sense of humor?
Oh my God. I cannot be with someone who doesn't laugh. Elisa doesn't get sarcasm, so that's a problem. But I think if I was with someone sarcastic, it would be like annoying. So the fact that, but she's always like, I'll say something so ridiculous. She's like, really? I'm like, no. But my kids are so sarcastic and it makes me laugh. But yeah, I gotta be laughter. I mean, I think that's what keeps us together is that we laugh at the same things. We love to laugh. You think about the birth of a baby. When a baby comes out of the mother, what is the first thing the person, who meets the baby for the first time tries to do? Is make the baby laugh or smile. It's so important to be a human being. It's just a huge part of it.
So, anything else you want to share about yourself before I ask you final question about what you're working on?
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to know about me?
No. I'm not going to ask any more personal questions.
No.
On your show, you were really sharing a lot. That you were talking about an airport scanner. I think that's what.
Oh yeah.
That's what made me think you're single.
Oh, no. That's just a joke.
Okay. But I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah.
People will have to go to your show to get what I'm referring to.
Yeah. And, just laugh. Like, don't take it so seriously.
Yeah. But you're taking it seriously, Judy. It sounds like you're taking it seriously.
Well, there are some serious things that I have to deal with. Like, I think people now, my audiences know me, so they come to see me, so they know what to expect. But I do get up and talk about Israel every time I get on stage, and that my son plays basketball there, and it's really important to me. So in that way, it's serious. But I talk about being in the bomb shelters in June. That's my life experience.
When I prepared for the interview, I looked into like more of your work. And one of the things I realized is from the left, where you had a certain audience, you've been getting a lot of pushback on that. People are like, oh, she's a Zionist. Let's cancel her.
Oh my God, Frida. I haven't been, I used to be regular on all these podcasts and news shows and radio shows, radio silence, pun intended. It's ridiculous.
I know what's to me frustrating is they are so earnest. These people are like, we should not be platforming Judy Gold anymore. She's now like, how could you take yourself seriously? How can you imbibe a podcast that is about politics without wanting to have conversations?
Right. And nuance and understanding the other person. Like, I didn't change. I never changed. You just saw me in a certain way. And here this event happened, and that's how I reacted to it. Because that's what I know to be true.
I mean, it's shocking to me that in leftist spaces, people are like, since October 7, it has become clear. Like, you think October 7 is the date in which it was revealed that Israel was committing genocide, instead of it being a date in which a terrible injustice was happened on people of Israel.
That was a genocide. That is a genocide, killing people because they're Jewish.
And it's good to keep let's not get serious. Why are we getting serious? Yeah. And you got to keep laughing through it all. And it's, I admire the ability to keep speaking out, because it's really hard to stay funny and stay loud in a climate in which you're told to shut up. And what else are you working on? And then we'll see anything, if you want to shout out anything in particular you have coming up.
Let me look at that. Right now I'm working on a book. It's a young adult
nice.
graphic novel about a really tall girl who doesn't fit in and is not athletic. I am always writing. I'm doing a lot of stand-up.
What about your other books? You mentioned you'd written other books.
Oh, I wrote, I don't know where it is. It's not here. I wrote a book, Yes, I Can Say That, When They Come for the Comedians, We're All in Trouble, about free speech. It's a very Jewish book. And 25 Questions for a Jewish Mother, the show that I had mentioned earlier, is also a book with all the interviews in it. And yeah, that's it. But wait, do I have shows coming up? When is this going to be airing?
I don't know. But you know what? We'll just link your website, and people will look at your upcoming.
All right. I'll be at a place near you.
Yeah, exactly.
And
go
come
check out
see me and laugh.
Oh, yes. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Judy. It was such a pleasure.
Oh, Frida,
to talk
thank
to
you. Good luck with your son.
Yeah. Thank you. Good luck with everything you've got going on.
Thank you.
I'll see you.